We are going to get started with 1 Million Cups Chico today. We are just going to do a quick overview. Next slide. There we go. A quick overview with the history of 1 Million Cups, and then our featured presentation, and then a 15-minute Q&A, and then some closing statements after that. So 1 Million Cups is brought to us by the Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman Foundation works with communities in entrepreneurship and education to increase opportunities that allow all people to learn, take risk, and own their successes. So 1 Million Cups is a free weekly program that educates, engages, and connects local entrepreneurs. Their mission is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the US. So they started really small in 2012 in Kansas City, and now they have over 130 communities, all with about 1 to 2 presentations a week, a 6-minute presentation with a 15-minute Q&A, and we are here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Zoom and with Stoble Coffee. So if you want to join our community, follow our chapter on the 1 Million Cups platform at 1millioncups.com/Chico. And today we have Zane from Etheia, and he's going to be presenting. Are you all ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Try that screen share.
Yeah. Nick, I think you have to stop screen sharing to.
Sorry, technical difficulty.
Good morning, Zane. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I presented at a couple of 1 Million Cups before, and
Oh, good.
I was excited to meet with a new community.
Well, thank you. We're excited to learn about your company as well.
Yeah, so I'll get right into it. My name's Zane. I'm a co-founder at Etheia. We're a legal tech company that helps family lawyers settle high conflict divorces. So every year in the US, there's 150,000 high conflict divorces. So these are not typical divorces, and we'll go into that a little bit more later. And together, this represents a $1.2 billion opportunity. So what is a high conflict divorce? A high conflict divorce is driven by a high conflict party. This is an individual that doesn't want to settle the case. And throughout a high conflict divorce, they go through many processes to isolate individuals from the court system and essentially create situations of alienation and a lot of emotional toll. And so this is one of the reasons why typical high conflict divorces cost the average family $75,000. And so there has to be a better way to go through some of these cases. And there is a way for lawyers to succeed. It requires outlining the distortions, connecting the lies together, and gathering supporting data. And that's where we come in. We help family lawyers easily dig for the details by taking the thousands of documents that surface in these cases and processing the financials. We help achieve better client outcomes by creating novel insights that, when you piece together all of the financial statements, financial disclosures, and other information that's provided in discovery. And these insights generally can help family lawyers settle cases quicker. And finally, we help family lawyers increase case revenue by allowing them to charge a premium on top of our service. So what exactly do we do? So we find financial anomalies in the case. Think about pulling together all of the credit card records, bank statements, and other financial documents, and then finding when other parties haven't disclosed the right information. We also find unusual transactions. So if on August 15th, spouse B purchased 500% more alcohol than they've previously done in the past, this presents an opportunity for family lawyers to dive deeper and get substantial evidence for things like child custody evaluations. And finally, we find spending trends. A lot of times the high conflict party may say something like, I purchased 90% of the groceries, or always take the kids to the doctor. And by looking through the financials, you're able to prove or disprove that claim. So what does our go-to-market look like? We are specializing in high conflict, high net worth cases. And so generally that's some of the top 200 law firms in the US, otherwise known as the AmLaw 200. And so right now we're working with one of those AmLaw 200s in the sales process, Miles and Stockbridge, based out of Maryland. And we met with the chair of the family law practice, the co-chair of the litigation department, and the chief information officer. The next steps for us are to be able to create a pilot program where both parties benefit and we can demonstrate the value of a solution like this. We're also going through a consulting model where we're the software is more of an internal tool, and we receive data from our, the law firm, and we provide substantial outputs. So, an example, we would give a ledger of all the financial transactions and also graphs and charts that show some of the spending trends that I talked about earlier. The goal is for some of these large deals to bootstrap a SaaS deployment that we could start distributing to other law firms around the nation. So next steps for us are to complete work on our minimum viable product. We have something that's working. There's kind of some advanced features that we need to work out for this customer specifically. We're hoping to have a pilot program agreed upon within 8 weeks, hopefully working with 3 firms in the sales process in 16 weeks, and have a SaaS, the start of a SaaS platform in 24 weeks. So that's a little bit about us. The team, I'm the CEO. I've previously led thousands of people in community service. I also have overseen large-scale CRM deployments. So I'm familiar with enterprise deals and building kind of large-scale technical solutions. And my chief technology officer spent 15 years as a system engineer and has experience at 2 late-stage startups on the technical implementation side of things. So thank you for letting me present today. I think some of the things that I might need help with in the immediate future are specifically just introductions to other firms, individuals who might be tangential to family law. I think the more conversations we can have, the better we can validate the solution, because right now we're building out for one specific firm, which is always great, right? But having more diverse viewpoints is something we're always looking for. So thank you for letting me present today.
So Zane,
Great.
law firms before, it was all internal people gathering this data. Like, how did they do it? I've never been divorced or had to have a lawyer. So
Yeah.
How were they gathering this data before? Just in their systems, and then their staff would, send it out?
So the old way of doing it is kind of the traditional discovery process, and that's not changing. But basically, you have let's say, the firm we're working with and opposing counsel, and typically, both parties are supposed to exchange data mutually. In a high conflict divorce, that generally doesn't happen. So opposing counsel might withhold certain financial documents. A lot of what we see is what's called like a discovery dump. So you'll get thousands of documents, maybe a quarter of which are relevant. And within those relevant documents, maybe a couple of transactions are literally whited out or pages are missing. And so that becomes a really messy process. And the way that law firms typically process this is 2 ways. One, they either bring together, a team of associate attorneys and paralegals to manually port through the documents, or they outsource to a forensic accountant. And that becomes extremely expensive, somewhere between, at the lowest end, maybe $30,000, but at the highest end, up to like $80,000 a case. And so, both solutions aren't really ideal in terms of how they're doing this now. And our product basically provides a way to, bridge that gap where they're still outsourcing to a third party at a much more affordable price, and they start to get customized insights, right? So the spending trends and some of those things are things that forensic accountants, my understanding is they don't currently do.
So my thought is that when you said there's discrepancies and one party doesn't want to show these documents, I mean, do both parties have to agree on using your service? Do you know what I mean? Because one might want to use it and one might not want to, because
yeah. So we're not like an intermediary. So we take whatever
Right.
opposing counsel has provided. And let's say there are discrepancies. In that case, we find the financial anomalies. So let's say for the month of May, they were missing everything from May 16th through May 28th. We would see that discrepancy in our software and say that from this date to this date, you're missing transactions. And this is something that the law firm we're working with can start to go to the court and compel the other party to provide it. Traditionally, going through a process like that is really difficult, because you have to have associate attorneys, again, manually go through these documents, try and piece together where the gaps are. And so this allows the law firms we work with to hold the other party accountable in a way that would be much more difficult to do before.
Awesome.
So you're essentially just a hub for all that information as, the SAS model.
But you said you're also working with 3 firms or plan to work with 3 firms?
Yeah, that's the goal, is to pilot with 3 firms. Again, right now we're in the process of working on a pilot program with one very large firm. I think the reasoning why 3 firms is just so we don't get too deep into a feature set, right? Because that's always a challenge.
Right. Do you have anyone, I know I saw you have the CTO and yourself, do you have any consultants that are actually lawyers or?
No, so obviously we have a lot of advisors. I've probably spoken to 50 to 100 family attorneys at this point. So I do get well, and that was more at the ideation stage in terms of getting just like rough feedback. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this has been informed through those conversations, and now what we're currently building is informed with our current relationship with that firm.
Have you had any concerns with security? Has that been a big question?
Yeah, that's a huge concern. Like, for example, the firm we working with has like an ISO certification, and that's typically a 1 to 2 year long process. The way we're kind of addressing those concerns is both me and my co-founder have experience in cybersecurity, specifically within like network infrastructure, and so a lot of that lends itself to having a deep understanding of how we're going to implement this in a safe way. So one of the ways that we're doing that is air-gapped systems. So for example, the software runs on our local system that's never connected to the internet. So doing things like that averts a lot of the security concerns. And we also have like an extensive like 50-page security policy that details processes, procedures, things of that nature.
Nice.
Are divorces up or down recently? I know that as the boomers had a lot of divorces because basically 2 family workers and everything. And now I think with the Great Resignation, it probably doesn't affect your market, but I just wondered if the general trend.
Yeah, I think this past year it went down like 1%. I'm not sure exactly why that is the case, but that's the overall divorce market. Again, we specialize in high conflict and generally high net worth too, because that's where you're able to justify paying for a solution like this.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting. This is Eva. She's our executive director at Chico Start and also the director of entrepreneurship at our local university, Chico State University. So
I'm sorry I'm late. I had a little emergency this morning.
We've got through most of the presentation. I don't know if you want a little overview.
Yes, please. I'm sorry. So rude of me.
You don't have to do your presentation over because you just give her the
Yeah.
gist of what your company is doing really quick because she always has really good questions and feedback and resources.
Yeah, so in a couple sentences, we help family lawyers settle high conflict divorces by taking the thousands of documents that surface in discovery and finding the financial anomalies, spending trends, and insights that family lawyers traditionally wouldn't be able to find if they had manual teams trying to go through the documents.
Interesting niche.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, very interesting. Where are you guys at with your MVP?
Yeah, so our software is built to be an internal tool at this point. So it's not like a software as a service. And the way that it would be delivered right now is as a customized consulting service.
Okay.
So our market right now is the top 200 law firms in the United States, because that's where you can justify having, a larger sales motion, customized consulting.
Right.
And so we're working with one of those 200 firms right now. And yeah, we've done a couple of demos with them and they're interested in moving forward towards a pilot program.
Have you been able to get a few friendlies, so to speak, to who are lawyers that do high conflict stuff to use it as well and help you iterate while you're courting the large ones? Yeah,
so I definitely gotten feedback. The challenge is actually, running a test case or running this on a real case requires, it generally requires, a contract because of the security concerns, right? It's very challenging to actually, give out, data in a real case. And so it usually involves much more of a formal process. And, to justify that kind of time on the attorney's end, they would need to see the value and really like purchase the solution. So
yeah. Is it tailored specifically for US law or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, high conflict parties are everywhere.
Correct.
I think there's a lot of complexity in going international right now. Just in terms of like right now, we've vetted a lot of the, would our work be considered work product privilege in the United States? And every state varies. And I'm not a lawyer, but generally so.
You should
But
add
yeah.
that line, you should add that line to your pitch.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer,
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer,
but I mean, because anyway, sorry.
When he was describing the teams, he
Yeah.
made it clear what he was. He had
Okay. No, it adds a lighter note to it. The reason I ask is because ironically, my brother is a lawyer for the domestic violence unit in Australia. And so that's always high conflict. And there's so many different parameters, right? Not the least, and he also used to work for like the #1 law firm in all of Australia. So that does family law, right? He now works for the whatever, the equivalent of the public defenders, but runs that whole unit. And he talks about the complexity of these different things, and that just totally triggered a last conversation I had with him about a month ago. So that's why I was just asking on the international front, and if you'd had any friendlies tested out yet, etc. So
Yeah,
all
and,
right.
if you don't mind, that would definitely be worth the conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
and so I would appreciate that connection. But yeah, I mean, part of it is like the firms we're working with right now are very international, right? So like a lot of them do, for example, like international child abduction. And so there's a lot of that.
Right,
I think we would just need to lean on their expertise in navigating, a whole host of different laws and a whole different legal system.
Mostly privacy and
yeah, security a little bit.
right.
Yeah.
And so how long have you and your team been working on this?
So formally since January of 2022.
Okay, informally.
Wow.
Informally, so we explored a lot of ideas. This actually started as like a support group for people going through high conflict divorces, and then we found where the actual gap in the market is. Informally, I guess, since July of last year, maybe June of last year.
Okay, interesting. All right, and where are you located?
Dallas area.
Okay, got it. It's a good area for it. No, it is.
Or Beverly Hills.
Well, this is really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a good niche.
Yeah, it's a good niche. It's good because it is niche, and most businesses nowadays that can specialize have a more of an opportunity, right? Because you're trying to help lawyers, sift through, right? It's just such a nightmare, right?
And accountability.
All right, and accountability, and so I just, my mind immediately goes to ROI, right? Like how much time you're saving them, and right,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. But then there'll also be like, I think, is it also machine learned? Like, is it?
So no, we don't have the expertise, but we were able to build it in a way that it can accomplish a very similar outcome. That's part of why it's not, a software as a service,
Right.
but more of a customized consulting service. So that, the components where it would be challenging to have, fully machine be done completely autonomously. There's elements where we're able to accommodate for edge cases on a customized basis. So to answer that, no. I think there was something else you brought up though. I can't remember off the top of my head.
No, it's okay. It would be, do you have a lack of staff at all? Like, do you wish you had more staff?
I don't think that's the case. I
Okay.
think right now it's more of starting to get more deals in the pipeline. So
Right.
again, we're pretty far along, maybe
Mhm.
like one step away in the pilot program with the SAMLA, but obviously that's a lot of, I guess, risk in terms of depending on one firm. We've opened
Right.
conversations with other firms too, but
Right.
some of those didn't pan out as sales goes.
Right.
So
That's gonna
yeah, I
happen.
mean, Right. So more top of funnel, I think, would be helpful. I make it a point to try and prospect at least 10 people a day. But, one of the things I've noticed, especially in legal, is referrals are always powerful, but
Right.
cold calling lawyers works a lot, doesn't work as well as
Right.
say in traditional
No,
enterprise.
referrals are golden, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Warm intros are golden. The reason why I was asking is because I thought it might be an interesting test case for the Texas. Are you close to Texas A&M? No, they're in College
No, they're
Station.
College Station.
They're in College Station.
Well, I will say, I think one thing that might be helpful, and I've explored this a little bit, is reaching out to law professors. So for example, SMU has like a law clinic. The person there said, this wasn't necessarily her specialty, so she wasn't interested. But I think a collaboration there would be would be very beneficial, because there's, a lot of it is done pro bono. So, there's missing out on initial revenue, but there's an opportunity for, it's less, you have to be ISO certified. You have to go through this 1-year vetting process. It's much more of a comfortable environment to try and test something like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would encourage you to continue to pursue that, and if you need to go above them, and I would guess that you've already done local 1 million cups in your area.
Yeah, I attended Frisco 1 million cups. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that could be really cool, because you have the opportunity to kind of have a friendly there, right? And have not, but I don't know. I didn't miss your presentation, so I'm monopolizing the conversation. My apologies again. But whenever, I don't know, in the rule of law, but in the rule of business, it's ROI. In the rule of law, it's privacy and ROI, right? And
Yeah.
ROI often beats privacy, but I mean, like, they have to guarantee, right? And I'm sure you made that as part of your presentation. You're
Talking
like,
about air gapping his systems to do, so it's never connected to the internet.
Right.
yeah, that's totally smart. That's totally smart. Thank you for that. Okay. Yeah.
I will say, so
How many-
you're mentioning,
If I'm a lawyer, how many hours can you save me?
so that brings up a point of, that's not necessarily the goal that we have, is saving hours because of the billable hour. So it's directly, a lot of the firms we work with, if we go from the perspective of increasing efficiency, that's harmful to revenue. And that's not the approach that we take. I think we're taking more of a quality approach, where the old way of doing things is you have associate attorneys that are just trying to get the balances to add up, and it doesn't ever happen, or it very rarely happens. And so when you're able to do that semi-instantly, but instantly is not the point. When you're able to actually get to that state, then you have a source of truth and data that you can pull new types of evidence from that you wouldn't previously have. So we focus on quality, and I think that's really where the value is created. It's hard to measure that, right? Like,
No, it's
the
not.
value.
It's not actually, and I really like how you said that. So I was pressing you for ROI, and you gave me what your true unique value proposition was. So thank you. That's excellent. It also shows me that you understand that market.
So then if you have
He
clients.
may not be a lawyer, but
No.
he understands his market. All right.
But then if you have clients that appreciate that transparency in the data that you're providing, then that's, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
that could be the law firm's
And if I'm a law
marketing
firm,
tool to get more clients,
right,
right?
and then
So-
also, exactly, and then also, I'm baking the cost of what I'm paying for my tool into each one of my clients,
Clients, mhm,
right? So, because that's part of the costs of doing business.
right?
So, all right, well, kudos to you. This is, and your team, excuse me. This can be really interesting. We would love to, make sure to let us know how you're doing. Come back in like 6 months or whatever and give us an update. And then, I don't know if you've reached out to any of the larger law firms in the Bay Area, but let us know. We're only 3 hours away, and I used to live there for 30 years. So, I'm happy to help if and where I can.
Okay, yeah, I haven't looked necessarily at the Bay Area, mainly on the East Coast, but there's no particular reason for that. So I'll, do some due diligence, find firms that might be a good fit, and then maybe send you guys a list, and we can see if there's any synergy or opportunity for a referral.
Absolutely. I'll happily introduce you to my brother.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Zane.
A couple of decades ago, this affiliate marketing guy that I was taking a seminar with had started this thing called X Talk. And then he turned it into something that was more of like a marketing. But it was to let ex-spouses talk to each other without pissing each other off. Kind of a buffer thing. I don't know if you know anything like that would be useful, but and I'm sure it's not. X Talk is like a language now, and the X hyphen talk looks like some sort of app, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with the guy, but it was just kind of. I just remember it from a long time ago. Yeah.
It's a really catchy name.
Yeah.
It's to the point,
Yeah.
right?
There's an app called Our Family Wizard that accomplishes a similar thing these days, and a lot of family law firms use it. Basically, it's just instead of communicating through phone calls or text messages, you communicate through the Our Family Wizard platform. It's 100% court admissible. So that is actually a pretty big business. It's one of the larger family law tech companies today.
Right.
So
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah, cool.
When he says like high conflict divorce, I assume that means like completely at odds, like we'll not even be in the same room most of the time. As opposed, because you said you're marketing more towards that, as opposed to like, I guess, a low conflict divorce where it's just, oh, it didn't work out. Like,
yeah. So it's a bit of that. It's a bit of being at odds, but it's also tying in high conflict personality where one person, it's not just that they're at odds and have the same goal. It's like one person malignantly is at odds, meaning that,
Right.
just think of like a toxic personality.
that happens.
Yes.
Celebrity kiss.
Yeah. We saw one of those on
Yeah.
TV.
We'll have to get into that.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Great. So if there's no more questions for Zane, we just have one final question we like to ask all our presenters. You kind of answered it earlier, but just to reemphasize, again, what can we here at 1 Million Cups Chico do for you?
Yeah, of course. Again, referrals. So I will, I don't want to just say, find me a law firm. I'll do my due diligence. I'll get a list and I'll see, here's where it makes sense. And we'll see if there's a synergy.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Awesome. Great. Okay, we're just going to do some closing statements and then we'll finish up.
And this one. Photoshop. Yeah. You heard me. That was my outside voice.
Right.
Okay, great. So I'm Shana Hamilton, your host organizer. Eva Shepherd is our chapter lead.
My dad found this old photo. So.
We want to thank our community sponsors, Chico Start, GrowTech, Global Entrepreneurship Network, T-Bar, Build.com, Startup Grind, Explore Butte County, and of course, Stoble Coffee.
They used to be, yeah, because they gave us.
Upcoming events we have is going to be GrowTech in October. And our early bird tickets are still on sale. We have World Cup Sacramento, which the application deadline is August 15th. Roseville Rising is a 6-week program for September through October, and their application is due August 15th. And the Growth Factory is presenting GFX August 25th at the grounds in Roseville. And then the Alchemist Micro Enterprise Academy application is due August 21st. If you're interested in any of those events, you can check our newsletter and our website. We're going to be here next week on Zoom and at Stoble Coffee, and we'll be joining the Sacramento chapter. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for coming out to 1 Million Cups Chico today. We hope you all have a good day.